If you would offer me a few moments of your time to share with you an awesome conversation that I'm honored that a new client couple has allowed me to share. It's my hope that what I shared with them is a blessing to you. They are married, have been married for 4 years. They have a 2-year-old daughter. They are 32. She's 32. He is 33. And initially she came to me first. And she had met with me and described in great detail a lot of the challenges she was having with her husband in the marriage. And I won't get into the specifics of the challenges because it's not really relevant for this video. But the challenges were centered around just communication challenges, nothing related to infidelity or anything like that. They just had a lot of problems with communication. She says she felt like those problems were exacerbated when she had their daughter, and certainly heightened to a different level. It could have been related to postpartum things. She said she wasn't sure, but she was very specific with the problems she had regarding him. And I said to her several times in that initial talk, I said, have you told your husband these things? And she said, yes, I've shared these things with him. I'm not quite sure he listens, but I have shared these things. I said, you've been candid and direct with him about what your challenges are? She said, yes, sir. And, in my spot, I really have no choice but to take people at their word. I'm not in people's homes. I can only go by what people share with me. And so I made the recommendation to her. I said, listen, you love your husband. It doesn't sound like these things are things that cannot be resolved. I'm in the reconciliation business, believe it or not. And I said, I would love to speak with you both together if he's interested. So she shared the link with him. He set up some time for us three to talk. And so we ended up talking. And, so I started up the conversation and I said to her on our individual call, I said, when we talk together, I need you to be honest. Because what I've seen in this work happen so many times is people come to me as an individual, they're married or, they have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, and they're having problems with them. And we end up doing group sessions, and then they get with their spouse and they don't talk and they freeze up and they don't remain as open and honest as they were with me individually. And I said, this happens a lot with women. Women get very timid when their partner's there in front of me, in front of them, and we're all there together. And I said, this is just based on my experiences. So I said that to her, and I said, I need you to be as open and honest when we're together as you have been with me. Yes, Doc, promise you I will. Well, we get on the call, and I started off by, introducing myself, and he introduced himself. And I said, we're here today, really talk about these challenges that have been mentioned by your wife. And I went through a list of those things briefly. It literally took 2 minutes. And I said, but I don't want to give my perspective. I want to open this up to you. And I was talking to her to really just further explain in detail those things she shared with me. And her explanation was maybe all of a minute. It literally maybe took her 45 to 60 seconds to explain what her challenges were. And so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's different. She was very talkative when we talked. I don't understand what's going on. And, he's looking at her while she's talking, and she's very much coming across very timid, very shy, almost borderline looking afraid. And the energy, the vibes were off. Her spirit was just off. And I could not put two and two together. Well, when she finished, I said, is that all you're going to share? And she said, yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, because I'm a student, have my notes here, and clearly there was a lot more to it. So before I went there, I said to him, sir, do you have anything you want to rebut to that? And he was very vocal. He's very vocal, very open, rebutted against most of what she said in that 45 to 60 seconds. It probably took him 7 or 8 minutes. He went on and on and on and on and on. She just sat there. She was looking. Her eyes were getting watery. And it was just so odd to me because she went from being outspoken to so timid when she was around him. So when he finished, I said, well, let me just be very clear here. I said, sir, I appreciate you being open and candid about your perspective. I said, but I'm going to be honest with you. Your wife, and she's sitting right there, was not this timid when we first talked. And I said, I find it odd that she's not speaking now and that you have no problem speaking. I said, so let me ask you both a question. What is the tone of the type of communication you have in your house? Who does most of the talking? Who does most of the listening? He paused. She put her head down. I said, no, somebody's got to answer me. And I said, ma'am, I would prefer you answer. She lifted her head. One of the tears that started to come down her face. She said, he does most of the talking. I try to talk, but I can't get through to him. And hopefully you can see what's going on right now. And so he's getting frustrated. He starts, huffing and puffing. It was really weird. And I said, sir, is that true? He said, yes, sir, it is true. He said, but she doesn't listen. And he's just going on and on, starts getting his temper worked up again, maybe 30, 40 seconds. And I stopped him and I said, ho. So I stopped him. And I said, sir, what is a little girl's most favorite animal? He looked at me and just started chuckling the way I'm chuckling. He said, say what? I said, what is a little girl's most favorite animal? He said, sir, I have no idea. I said, ma'am, do you know? She said, probably a unicorn. I said, you're close. Unicorns aren't real. At least I've never seen one. I said, but you're close. She said, I don't know what it could be. I said, it's a horse. She said, okay. I said, do you know why I'm asking that? She said, no, sir. I said, sir, do you know why I'm asking? He said, I'm clueless. I said, the reason why little girls like horses is because horses are big, they're strong, they're powerful. They provide an opportunity for enjoyment and pleasure. But horses are also gentle. You ever heard the phrase horsepower? He said, yes, sir. I said, so they have strength. A horse could step on you or hit you when running and kill you. They have power. But if a little girl rubs a horse and is near a horse, that horse has the ability to manage its power and control itself so that the little girl feels safe. She starts bursting out crying. And I'm getting used to this because it happens a lot on my calls. She burst out. He just sits there and shakes his head looking at me, kind of like amazed. I said, my daughter wants a horse. And Lord knows, I don't want to buy her one. That costs too much. I said, but I get it. Because when she sees me, she sees a horse. I'm the man in her life. Strong, powerful. Could do something at any moment that could destroy her life, but I have the self-control to be able to control myself. I said, that's what you've got to be. And the problem is a lot of men show up as bulls. You know what a bull is? He said, yes, sir. I said, big, strong, mean, nasty. And we wonder why when women try to get on our backs, we end up throwing them off. Bulls don't have control. They can't control themselves. I said, you got to be a horse. I said, but sir, let me ask you this, because I'm equal opportunity. What's a mannequin? He said, you mean like those things you see in the store? I said, yes, sir. He said, there's those things you see in the store. They're like dummies. They don't talk. You dress them up. You make them look like what you want them to. I said, let me tell you something. Healed women like horses, and healed men hate mannequins. There's nothing attractive to a healed man about a silent woman. I don't care what you see on social media. The fact that your wife doesn't feel comfortable talking around you says to me that she's a mannequin. And if you find that attractive, there's not only something wrong with her for allowing it, there's something wrong with you for thinking that it's okay. Healed women want horses. They don't want bulls, and they don't want donkeys. Because when a man starts to act like a donkey, we can't be shocked when women start to call them Jack. You know the rest? He started laughing. She started laughing with tears still coming down her eyes. I said, right? Does that make sense?
What's up, everybody? This is Dr. Zeb. Listen, I've been dying to make this announcement for a very long time now, and I'm pleased to say that Inspire Nation has officially launched. Yes, we finally got a Facebook and YouTube community group where we're going to have exclusive content, exclusive shorts, exclusive discussion prompts, where we're going to engage with other people literally around the world who are on the same healing journey that we're on. I need you to go find these pages right now on Facebook and YouTube. Inspire Nation, follow the page, join the group, introduce yourself, and be prepared to link up with literally thousands of people around the world who are on the same healing journey, who are looking for the same resources, and who want to also be surrounded with other like-minded individuals who are growing in the same direction as you are. I'm so excited about this because it's the beginning of some great things I can't talk about right now. Listen, you got two jobs. One, be better today than what you were yesterday. And two, don't forget what I told you.